You've just heard how industry can combat the skill shortage through revitalizing the workforce development support, career technical education, and diversifying our talent pool. Now we're going to hear from some individuals who have actually walked that path. And I am excited about this next panel. We've got Chris Price with us. Chris is the president of the Indiana Construction Roundtable Foundation and director of Build Your Future Indiana, and he's moderating this panel for us as we go forward. Through his work in Indiana, Chris has been a strong advocate for promoting careers in construction and helping turn the tide for contractors' workforce needs. State initiatives like Indiana's will continue to grow as Build Your Future, the NCCER program, expands its reach to include more videos, a larger social media presence, and the resources to raise awareness for the opportunities that exist in the construction industry. A key to changing our workforce system, and these groups talked about it, and quite frankly, we got some questions about it for the last panel, will be educating influencers, especially parents, about the opportunities available through career pathways and career and technical education. NCCER is about to launch a new program this year called BYF Today, Build Your Future Today, with that exact goal in mind, reaching those influencers, particularly parents. Social media, as all of you know, has played a key role in electing our last two presidents. We know that we can use it to reach parents and influencers and help them to understand about the great opportunities, the great careers that exist in the construction industry. Steve Green said it. This is not about a job on a project. This is about a career in an industry. Let's welcome Chris Price and his young professional panel to the stage. You need this, buddy. Thanks. There you go. There you go. You need that. Thanks. What is this? Oh, we don't have any slides. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. As Tim mentioned, I'm Chris Price. I'm the president of the Indiana Construction Roundtable Foundation. And I just want to start out by saying what an honor it is to be here for several reasons. First, and probably the biggest reason is over the last couple of months, I've had the pleasure of really getting to know this panel, and especially just in the last day of talking with them. I think we've got an awesome event planned, and I'm really, really psyched to talk with you all today and to hear, more importantly, what our panelists have to say of craft professionals. So, because I am from the Indiana Construction Roundtable, I want to thank you all for having this conference in Indianapolis. I hope you're enjoying the city. All right, good. So this topic is particularly close to me. So through the ICR Foundation, we've been involved in some programs that are pretty well aligned with RT 335. And I think that this is something that the industry needs, that we need to start talking about, we need to do something about. And so some of what I've been involved with through the Indiana Construction Roundtable, I guess to start out with, I'd like to tell you what our mission is, and that is to empower people to pursue a career in the construction industry. So through the foundation, we've developed a very strong partnership with state government and local government. In fact, our organization is funded in large part, through our partnership with state government and through our general budget. And some of the programs that we operate through the ICR Foundation include Build Your Future Indiana. Build Your Future is really a perception change campaign and an outreach program that we utilize in the K through 12 space. Through that program, we've trained now over 300 industry leaders, what I call ambassadors, to go out and talk to students in the high schools and their influencers. And since our formation in 2015, we've now met with over 80,000 people. So we're really doing a considerable amount of work in that K through 12 space. We have, 380,000 people, and we do this all in collaboration with the construction industry at large. So we have strong partnerships with residential construction, with commercial construction, as well as with road construction, and union and non-union companies as well participating. So we're proud of that. Our second program is one that we call BY Training. So the BY program, as I call it, is accredited through the NCCER, as well as through the state Department of Workforce Development. And the program in its simplest form is really intended to help people overcome poverty, overcome whatever challenge they might have by teaching them basic skill sets in construction. We utilize NCCER core curriculum, and graduates of the program, all the graduates of the program are placed into jobs. So our first pilot program of this will be launched in September, and we're really excited about the opportunities with that program. Best part of that, it's completely free to the people who use it. So through those partnerships and through that accreditation, this is a free resource to people who do want to pursue this career path. So let's start with our panel. So RT 335, it's an important research paper to me. And so today with our panel, we're going to touch on some of the concepts of that paper. And I think our panelists of young craft professionals are really going to give some insights on that. So I'm excited to get started. Let's start out with a kind of a warm-up question. Let's start with you, Jacob, and go down the line. And briefly introduce yourself, if you don't mind sharing with everybody your name, company, and a little bit about what brought you into the industry.
Okay. How you doing, everybody? My name is Jacob Guzman. I work for KBR. And I got into the construction industry because going to college and teaching at a Texas School of Business wasn't really going to do it. My wife and I started a family, and I had to get a real job, right? So I got into industrial construction, started scaffold building, found out that pipe fitters make more money, do better work, and made my way from a pipe fitter helper to a general foreman, both with KBR and Performance. And from there, I got picked up to teach, which is my current role for KBR. I teach a veteran pipe fitting program in partnership with the leadership at Fort Polk, with the Central Louisiana Technical Community College System and KBR. And what happens is soldiers who are coming out of the military, they come through this program. I teach them how to fit pipe with the NCCER curriculum. And when they get out of the Army, they get job offers, either from us or other industry partners. Most recently, the last group all got picked up by PCL.
Awesome. Amanda?
Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda Griffin. I live here in Indianapolis, and I work out of Labor's Local 120 here. I actually work for Hagerman Construction. I've been with them for a year, and going through the apprenticeship program, I've received several certifications. I got into this industry because my boyfriend's mother is a tower crane operator out of 103, and being empowered and encouraged to get into this field really felt appropriate, considering I came from an office job. She actually really inspired me. When we drive downtown, she actually was the tallest tower crane operator on this job, building this Marriott, JW Marriott, back in 2009. So it's just really inspiring to hear everything she's been a part of down here.
That's awesome. JR?
My name is JR Christenberry. I work for Gaylor Electric. I'm a journeyman electrician with Gaylor, a service tech out of Lafayette, Indiana. I'm a two-time national champion through National Craft Championships. 2016, I won for commercial residential electrical, and in 2017, I won for commercial industrial electrical. I also teach third-year electrical in Lafayette at the ABC Dayton facility, and I love every bit of what I do.
All right, JR, we're going to keep it with you. We've got a lightning round question that we're going to kick it off with, and then we're going to move this way. So before getting into the industry, what was your perception of construction?
To be honest, I thought construction workers were guys that boots on the ground Monday through Friday, knuckle busters, guys that just went out there and broke their back all week for a paycheck on Friday, and then they just showed back up for work on Monday. I had no idea of benefits or retirement. I just always thought construction guys were the grunts of the construction industry.
Let's shift it over to Amanda. What did you think?
I kind of had a similar perception as JR. I felt they were undereducated, male-dominated, catcalling society. But now that I've gotten in, I know we're trained, educated, skilled, and an important part of our society.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Nothing good. to tell you the truth. A bunch of uneducated, knuckle-dragging, jackhammer, pipe wrench swinging people. Now that I know, some of the most intelligent professionals I've ever met are in industrial construction, in the construction industry.
All right, so JR, I wrote down two-time craft champion. That's so impressive. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you got to this point? At what age did you really think about wanting to work in construction?
So I went to the Marine Corps when I was 17, and I came home and I went right into construction, general construction, building homes, remodeling homes, work of that nature, but nothing was actually a skilled trade. I was out there learning on the job, but with no credentials. And then back in 2013, I had two buddies that worked for Gaylor Electric that said, hey, you've got a wife and two kids. You need to think about your future. You need some retirement. You need some benefits. So I went and applied at Gaylor Electric, and hands down, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life. I never thought I would have this many doors open for me or this many opportunities to move forward. To be honest, I never thought an electrician was more than lights and switches. And there is a lot more involved than lights and switches, I can tell you that.
So it is a perception, misperception or not, that to get into the industry, you kind of have to know somebody, or at least if we ask people to raise their hands in the room, most of us did know somebody, and that's how we got into the industry. So someone encouraged us in some way or another to get in, but and you touched on that as well. So what do you think can be done on a larger scale to encourage more young people, just as you were, to pursue that career path?
Honestly, they just need to find out about it. A lot of kids don't know, and a lot of them have the same perception that we did, that this is knuckle draggers and guys that work Monday through Friday for a paycheck, not a career. They need to realize that they can get right into a career right out of high school. I think the biggest part of that is going to be getting into the high schools. We need to set up programs and do things that involve, as low as junior high and high school students. Gaylor Electric has a few programs set up where we work with Noblesville High School. We actually have two big programs with them. The one, we have high school students that get high school credits by coming to our shop and working in our prefab shop, and it still counts towards their high school education. They kind of took shop class out of high schools. Well, we're kind of bringing it back to them. We're giving them the opportunity to come work with their hands and learn a trade. The other thing we're doing is Crossroads. Crossroads is a program for people that have issues in high school. They just don't fit in, not necessarily troublemakers, but people that just don't have the whole high school vibe. We give them the opportunity to go to school still and still receive their high school diploma from the high school they should have gone to, but they come to our facility all day. So they come to our Noblesville office, and there's a morning class that does school from morning time till noon, and then when they go to lunch, they go out and they work in our shop for the rest of the day. And then they have the opposite class that does the shop in the morning, and then they go to school. And these are their teachers, their education. We're just giving them the tools to have a job when they get out. And by all means, we will hire every single one of them when they complete it.
And I've visited with Gaylor. I've seen those programs. It really is impressive to see what they're doing as an employer, really taking the lead in creating those partnerships. And I'm starting to see other employers, at least locally, follow suit and kind of pursuing that same kind of thing. So hats off to Gaylor for that. I want to pivot the conversation a little bit, and so one of the themes that we talked about in the RT 335 was the issue of diversity. And so through my research with the foundation, I've dug into this topic a little bit more and found some statistics that I found interesting, bothersome, whatever. I guess they just are what they are. But so in 1983, I'm going to throw some of them out there at you. In 1983. Our industry was 6.1% African American. So 35 years have passed. We've rolled out diversity policy, and currently today we sit at I just checked this morning and it said 6.1, but it was at 5.8%. So we were actually declining in diversity for African Americans in our industry. If you look at the Hispanic population, they've got a higher percentage in our industry. I think it's 23% of the construction industry. But if we're real about it, a lot of the Hispanic population is kind of pushed into lower paying jobs of the industry, some of the migrant workers and that sort of thing. And then when you look at women in our industry, so women make up the majority of our population. You know, men do not live as long as women, unfortunately, or fortunately if you're a woman, I guess. But so 9.1% of our industry is women, and about a third of those jobs are really craft workers, 2/3 of them being office workers. So, so minorities, women, both underrepresented in our industry. And when you look at, especially at the minority population, or at African Americans and Hispanics, they're disproportionately affected by poverty and incarceration rates. So we have to start looking at what's working and what's not working as far when it comes to diversity, and really starting to do something about this. In my opinion, that's what one of the focuses that we're working on. So, as the only woman on the panel, Amanda, I want to ask you a couple questions and just get your perspective on some things. Earlier, you mentioned that you were influenced by your boyfriend's mother or mother-in-law, and who was a crane operator, and I guess you did explain. Is there anything? I mean, how did she really empower you to pursue this career?
That kind of goes hand in hand with her showing me what she's built, and just being inspiring in that kind of sense. Like, that's this is a giant building, and to say that you had a hand in putting this together, or the biggest hand really, is just, that's encouraging. Like, that's inspiring.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges, if any, that women face on a job site that men don't?
Okay. Some challenges women face on a job site would be the initial reaction, first reaction that you might receive. If a superintendent is trying to call out a laborer, he might not want a woman, and he might want a man, just because we might not be as strong as the male counterpart. When I first started, my first job, actually, my first union job, I got called out and I was told that it would be a 2-week job. After I've proved myself, he actually kept me, and I've been there for a year. I feel like you're having to constantly prove that you are equal and that you can work as hard as a man. That would be the number one big challenge. You're always going to have that at a new job. Another challenge, I would feel like, if you go on a job site, and this is going to be kind of personal, but bathroom accommodations. Some job sites provide a female-only porta potty, and some do not. If you have less than 3 female workers, they actually do not require them to provide a separate bathroom for women. And if you're on your time of the month, it could be hard to discreetly dispose of feminine hygiene products, and that is embarrassing to have to throw that away in there, to say the least. And another challenge women might face is, I'm 25 years old and I'm looking to start a family. I don't feel like I could be pregnant and do my job and work as hard as I do. And also, when I do have kids, the early mornings and late afternoons, overtime, unexpectedly, doesn't really work with the typical daycare 9-to-5 situation. So I think those are the 3 major challenges women face.
Well said. I've heard of separate bathrooms for women. It wasn't until it was explained to me in that way that I really understood it and got it. Anyway. So I'm going to stick with you, Amanda. Do we have some challenges with the workplace culture, with job sites and the culture, and what are some of those challenges that you've encountered?
I kind of touched on it earlier. Going into a job site, you think it's all men, so you do think of that typical catcalling, sexual harassment, but you kind of have to be strong and not sensitive when you are trying to prove yourself and getting to know people. But really, I haven't faced a lot of that issue. Once you go in there confident, and you're not going to have any issues. but.
Okay, great. I'm going to come back to you with a couple more questions, but we're going to shift it over to Jacob now. And first, so Jacob already mentioned that he was a veteran of the Army, right?
Yes, sir.
So JR is also a veteran of the Marines, so I want to thank both of them for their service. So Jacob, I do have a couple questions regarding veterans. As it was noted in RT 335, that is a priority. I think we can do a lot as an industry to improve our connectivity with veterans. Sadly, so right now, you're in Marion County right now. This is Indianapolis. We're a, average mid-sized city. Not unlike wherever you're coming from, probably. But just a couple weeks ago, I met with a local group that helps homeless veterans. And right here, right now in Marion County, we have 500 homeless veterans. And that's probably not unlike where you're from. So we have an opportunity, we have an obligation to do better, I believe. That number was shocking to me. I had no idea. You drive by, you see the signs, homeless veteran, and you don't always know if that's legit or not. And I'm not saying all those signs are legit, but it was still surprising for me to learn that. Nationally, we have approximately 200,000 veterans who are separating from the military each year. So it's a lot of people. So Jacob, what are some secrets to recruiting and retaining veterans? Like, how can we talk the language and make this industry more appealing?
It's, like you say, talking the language. The veteran community, the service members, regardless of branch, have a very specific language that they speak and a very specific lifestyle. Many of you, I'm sure, are veterans in the room, or some of you have family members who have served in one branch or another, and you know that they're just a little different than your average American. In order to get veterans into your companies, you have to have someone who not only served, but in my opinion, served in a combat zone. I went to Iraq with my unit out of Germany in 2003, and on March 19th, we pushed from Kuwait north into Iraq. And those experiences will only be understood by someone who was there. For example, although I may seem like I'm pregnant here, I can never speak with a woman about pregnancy because I just won't know. And if you've never had that experience as a combat veteran, it's hard to talk to them, to let them know what you're doing. So education programs, your recruiters, but more importantly, your workforce development. Getting them to have that paradigm shift to go from a soldier to a civilian. Having that shift and letting them know that there is long-term goals. They're used to a contract. They sign for 2, 3, 4, however many years, and they know that they're going to have a job, they're going to have a place for their family, they're going to have a place to eat for those X amount of years. And in the construction industry, a lot of times you hear the word layoff, and if you don't know, it's like a dirty word. But the real secret is you want that layoff after being on that job. Perfect example, one of our graduates, he worked for KBR and a Dow facility. He got out of the Army as an infantryman, sergeant. He earned his stripes, and he worked at a Dow facility in Freeport, moved to Corpus Christi, and he asked his general foreman for the layoff. He wanted to go back home. He was able to get out. He was able to purchase a home for his wife and kids in Baytown, Texas, and he asked for that layoff. And when he told me, I reminded him of the conversation. He said, "You know what, you were right." He was able to choose his next job. He's not working for one of our competitors, Jacobs, but I know that they gained an amazing individual in the pipe fitting craft. So talking to them, getting them to realize that there is not only a job, but a career path, whatever it is. We start in pipe fitting, but you go to quality, you can go into management, you can go into any number of different career paths. So
I think that's a great point. So, I also think our industry is just generally supportive of the military, supportive of our veterans. It's just that connectivity, trying to figure out how to navigate the system to find the people is one of the biggest challenges. So, do you mind giving us a brief overview of the resources that may help some of the people in this room find veterans who are interested in a career path, just the resources?
One of the resources that we've used is a company, well, they're a nonprofit organization called Next Stop Vets, and they're in the greater Houston area. They've gotten with the other veterans organizations in Houston, the Lone Star Veterans Association, the VA, things like that, and they actually got into one building. They called it Combined Arms, and it's right in the heart of downtown Houston, so that if a veteran around the greater Houston area, I mean, in Houston, we claim from Conroe to Galveston, from Baytown all the way to Katy. It's all Houston, right? So anybody can go to this facility, and if they need help with finding a place to live, if they need help with their resumes, if they need help with connecting to industry partners, they're one of the groups that are there. So if there's somewhere local, wherever you're from, that does that, connecting with these guys is the best way to get veterans into your organizations. The Hardhead Heroes, I'm able to be a part of that panel. If you go to hardheadheroes.org or .com and you look on there, what they're really doing is this crosswalk is they're taking the military jobs, like let's say the 12 series in the Army, the guys who work heavy equipment. They look at what they learned from their TRADOC doctrine. This is what you learn item by item by item. Then they take the NCCER curriculum, item by item by item, see which ones match up. And even if someone, like for myself in the medical field, spent 7 years as a combat medic in the Army, if you'd have told me to look for a left-handed screwdriver, I'd have went. I didn't know anything about construction, right? But even the leadership, if you're a sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, whatever it is, you go to leadership schools. So there's also a way for them to get NCCER credentialing in project management, in leadership. So there's plenty of resources in your local communities, the local VA, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, these kind of guys that are always in contact with veterans constantly, reaching out to these organizations. If you have a base or a camp or whatever it is for whatever military organization is in your area, you can get with, in the Army they called it Soldier for Life or Transition Assistance Program. These people are talking with the service members that are about to exit and separate from the military. That's your pool. Those are the guys you need to talk to because they're ready to get out and they don't know what they don't know, right? They talk about resumes, they talk about this, but if you're there teaching them about your particular organizations, you're gonna get first pick, cream of the crop.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So we credentialed our first person through the Hardhead Heroes program a couple months ago, and it was cool for a lot of reasons, or a couple of reasons anyway. It seemed like the person that I was working with just really appreciated, number one, that we were trying to save him time, recognizing him for what he's already been through, the training that he's already received, and it sort of, he was looking at multiple career paths, not just construction, but by sending him that card with his credentials, now he had something in his hand. He had that blue card that showed his credentials, and then I used that and sent it out to employers. I still not sure where he ended up. I think he interviewed at Gaylor actually, but anyway, I think that's a great resource for people to use. So Amanda, I've got a couple more questions for you. We did talk about some of the challenges with trying to recruit women to the industry, and I guess I wanted to ask you that maybe in a different way. What can we as an industry do to recruit and retain women?
I think one of the biggest things that might help women get into this industry is if another woman was the one reaching out. It's hard to want to join something when a 45-year-old white male is the one trying to get you to enroll or become an apprentice. If you're talking to young women, that someone that's in the field as a woman can be really inspiring, and that's like how I got in. And something I was actually asked to do is through my local 120 here in town, we're going to start going to high schools, and they asked me to come along with them to speak to young students. So that might be a big selling point, hearing it from a woman.
Absolutely. I think most of the people in this room would agree. I went into the construction industry because I had a large portion of my family who had already succeeded in construction. My uncle owned a general contracting company. I had other family that that I was able to see success. If you don't see the success, if you don't see someone in your neighborhood, in your community, in your family who's doing it, it's hard to envision yourself achieving that same success. So let's see. Let's go to some group questions. Sorry, I'm flipping through here. Let's do another lightning round question. So we're going to start on this end and go that way. JR, what do you see as the #1 challenge facing our industry right now?
Honestly, the #1 challenge I see in the industry is getting people to realize that this is a career. It's not just a 9-to-5 job. It's not just a paycheck every Friday. This is a way of life. You're going to create a life for yourself, and that's kind of what sold me on it when my friend said, hey, you've got a wife and 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Their exact words were, hey, you need a big boy job. And that's exactly what I got. I had no idea walking into it that that's what I was going to get, but the options are endless. Because I could have come into the electrical trade and not particularly liked it. It doesn't mean there's, over 70 different trades that I can go to school to learn. And once you're connected with NCCER or ABC or one of those different facilities, your options are open to go do whatever you'd like to do. So thankfully for me, I love being an electrician. There's nothing I'd rather do. So I'm golden right where I found the right spot the first try.
Sounds like you did.
But there's every opportunity for every person out there. And like I said, if you don't like what you do, you have the option to open a new door and pick a new career path. But it's really about getting the youth, the younger in high school programs are such a big deal. They need to realize that they can come right out of high school, start a career. And like through Gaylor, I also have through ABC, we can get a degree from Vincennes University at the same time. So I'm accomplishing everything that they thought they had to get out of high school, and I'm doing it with a job. I'm making a paycheck every week and learning a skilled trade. I think a lot of kids go through high school not knowing that that's an option. A lot of college kids go through college and finish college and don't even realize that they can hit the ground with their boots and take off into a real job. If that degree doesn't take them anywhere, we've got plenty of places to take them. There are a lot of trades that'll take these kids anywhere they want to go. They just don't realize that the door's there.
Right, yeah. I asked the same question of Amanda. What do you see as the #1 challenge facing our industry right now?
One of the biggest challenge I would say would be recruitment, probably of minorities. I think that getting them in younger would be a solution, and high school recruitment is a great idea. I think that women, particularly speaking from that viewpoint of this whole time, we're just 3% is just way too low of a percentage to be in this field, and I know we're all capable, and so we need to get out and encourage and empower these your daughters and your wives to actually get in the field.
Well said. Jacob, #1 challenge facing our industry right now?
For me, the policy #5 talks about improving recruiting and retaining, and for me, that's the biggest issue. It's not hiring veterans. Veterans want jobs. Companies want to hire veterans. That's great. But what do you do with them once you have them, right? So for me, the workforce development is the key factor. Once you have the recruiter, bring them in, make sure they're qualified, give them the position, they're pretty much hands-off from there. So if your companies don't have a strong workforce development to continue to train them, because service members are used to training, even when they don't want to, even if it's raining, they say, if it ain't raining, we ain't training, right? So they want that education, they want that career path, they want that long-term, this is what I'm looking forward to take care of my family kind of deal. And the workforce development is gonna be the one doing that. For example, in my class, I didn't even realize I was doing this until my supervisor, Natalie Smith from KBR, was telling me about it. They don't know what they don't know. And what I'm telling these guys is what the world is like in the construction industry. the questions that we all know the answers to. Should I rent an apartment when I get there? No. Should I buy a house next to that construction site? No. I talk to them about having 2 months worth of their bills in the bank so that when they get that layoff, they can take that vacation, or instead of going from a hotel to hotel like I wasted my money going, using my per diem at a hotel, get the travel trailer, get the truck. It's less expensive and it's yours. So these small things that all of us know about, telling these people what the real life is like is what's going to keep them. You're going to develop that talent because what do they have? They have leadership. They have attention to detail. They have discipline. They're going to show up to work, right? You're not going to have these issues of, oh, I'm late because whatever. A squirrel crossed my path and kind of just, right? Whatever the case is, they're going to be there, and they want the training. They want to be hooked up with a mentor. They want to be trained. They want to be taught. It doesn't matter if they come out as a junior enlisted, private first class specialist, or if they come out retiring as a senior enlisted, a sergeant first class, or one of those ranks. They know that they have to start from the bottom, learn their craft. For example, in the military, if me as a medic, if I was a sergeant and I get to a brand new infantry unit, are they going to put me in charge of soldiers? Well, they better not, because I don't know the first thing about infantry. It's the same thing with these guys. They know they have to start from the bottom, learn whatever craft, and then their leadership skills will come out as they progress. So having somebody on the job site, training them, or having programs to where when they come in, even your leaders, making sure that they know the path forward, that they know the future, that they know that they have a home, a career with your company or the next. I mean, I personally worked for Floor, I worked for Performance, KBR, I worked for StarCon, all these different companies, and I tell them that that's what they're going to have to do. In order to be a true leader, you have to have the experience from all these different types of jobs. You have to do the maintenance, you have to do the shutdowns, you have to do the new construction. So that workforce development piece, retaining them is the biggest issue. We don't want revolving doors. We want to keep the talent that you work so hard to get.
All right, Amanda, I've got a new question for you. So 30 years from now, I'm hoping I'll be playing golf. Maybe I'll be living somewhere on a beach or near a beach. I don't know. You guys will be wrapping up, coming towards the end of your career. Hopefully not quite there, but where do you see our industry in 30 years? What's your vision?
I see a lot more training, innovative technology being used, and hopefully more minorities are involved by then.
JR?
So in 30 years, our industries are never going to stop evolving. They're going to keep growing. And that's the thing, is that the youth and the kids that we get in now, they're the ones that are going to be running all of that later. So in 30 years, I hope to be sitting behind a desk somewhere looking at the people that I taught how to run this industry, running it for me, not for me, for them. They're running these jobs and building this country off what we were able to teach them. And that's the biggest thing. I think, like what Jacob said, the mentorships, that is almost a thing of the past, I want to say, that you used to remember when a guy came to a job and he had a mentor, he had a journeyman, or he had someone that he learned from. And I think a lot of that's gone away. And I think those are good programs that need to come back, especially for these young guys that we're trying to get into these trades. And if we do stuff like that, I'm going to be set to be sitting behind a desk.
No, absolutely. That's very important. So I'm going to ask you one more question. So you kind of touched on some K through 12 stuff. What kind of things do you think can be done in K through 12 to change the perception of our? Actually, we kind of already touched on that, don't you think?
We did.
Well, let's mix it up then.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts on what our industry needs to move forward?
It's just the all-in-all general growth. Like I said, and that starts with the youth. Like I just said, that's what's going to push our industry forward. Taking the leaders you've got now and making them better. Like Jacob said, these programs to invest in their education and keep making them, having them grow, and then teaching them that they need to take that knowledge. Like, that's the best part I have about teaching. The first thing I did I've only been a graduate for a year, and the first thing I did was went into a teaching position because that's where our future is. I went right into teaching, and I feel great about it. I use every opportunity I have to teach, and I think that's the biggest part of our future is making sure that this knowledge gets passed down.
Jacob, I'm going to give you the final question here. It's the same question. What are your thoughts on what the industry needs to move forward?
In order to make our industry better, we need to package the construction industry as beautiful and shiny as they're pushing going to college. You know, go to UT, right, Texas. Go to this college, go to that college, get a degree, do this. No one talks about the dirty, grimy, dangerous construction industry. Although those things are true, the reality is the juice is worth the squeeze. You know, going from a one-bedroom apartment with a really crappy car and taking my family to, a four-bedroom house with 2 brand new cars because of the construction industry. That's a very common story. One of our graduates, he was an infantry sniper, and because of his work and mission in Iraq, he has nightmares. To this day, he has a beautiful dog named Ziggy, right, big Rottweiler, but he's there to wake him up from his nightmares. And coming through our program and hitting the values that we need to teach, the mentorship, the coaching, having somebody there that speaks his language, he was able to succeed in the industry. Matter of fact, he's working for JV in Ardmore, Oklahoma as a pipe foreman already. He bought a house in Baton Rouge on some land for his family, his pregnant fiance, also a veteran, and they're starting their life. And what I tell them, on their graduations, I'm like, look, guys, you've done so much. You've cried for your country. You've fought for your country. You've bled for your country. Now it's your turn to go out and build your country, build your lives, build your legacy. And they can do that if you construction professionals will take them under your wing and show them the ropes, show them what it is that we do, right? So in order to move forward, we have to let them know that this is a real option. This is a real career path. This is a real life in the construction industry. It's not like I thought, a bunch of, jackhammer, sledgehammer swinging, bunch of yahoos who don't know, their ABCs. These guys learn in this class, they learn trigonometry. I couldn't even say that word, a few years ago, but they learn, and these are infantry guys, right? The grunts. They learn, their sine, cosine, tangent. They learn all that stuff in the class with the NCCER curriculum, and they succeed. So, again, we have to make it attractive to the younger generation.
All right, so we are out of time. How about a round of applause for our panelists? Thank you. I see a standing ovation, which is well-deserved. We have, if our panelists wanted to pursue a career in public relations, they would have done that. Instead, they're craft professionals, and it's intimidating for anyone to get up here and talk for 600 people. But to you guys, I really do, just from my heart, thank you. And I know this is a challenging thing to do, and hopefully it was a good experience. So we did, talk about a lot of important things. And I guess just in closing, we're an industry of builders, we're an industry of doers, we're an industry of constructors. We're not an industry of wait and seers. And so I would challenge you all to think about some of the things that we talked about today and in the previous session and see what you can do with that. Thank you.